particularly here, I speak for this brand, talking about Nigeria Info, we got to have, the commissioner for, what's it called? The head of immunization, speak very regularly as to why vaccines are important and what exactly is vaccinations. Back then, we asked this question. And then some people say, no more vaccines. They don't trust any modern vaccines. Okay, so let's agree you don't trust any modern vaccine. And it's not just even a Nigerian issue, because even in the US, there are some parents who refuse to vaccinate their children, not just for COVID, but for other issues. They don't believe in vaccinations, all right? Maybe for religious reasons, But now that we live in a country that, particularly in the past 4 or 5 decades, has benefited immensely from vaccinations against polio, meningitis, measles and things like that. These days, a lot of people don't get to, as it were, have their lives cut short because of measles, thanks to, yes, you guessed it, the measles vaccine. Some of you, when you have yourself, injured, you just remember you haven't had a tetanus shot. You quickly get to a primary health care center, a knife cut me, or you stepped on a nail, particularly nail, and say, okay, we're going to give you a tetanus shot. And you're fine, you're comfortable. But here is something that you deal with every day. WHO reports that a child dies every minute for malaria. So, straight to the question, would you avail your child to be vaccinated if given the opportunity? That's my question this morning. As always, please do well. Turn down the volume of your radio set. Refrain from making derogatory or defamatory comments. If you didn't see it or hear it, please do not make unsubstantiated claims and do not make inciting comments as well.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
017-923-0002, 0817923-0007. Then WhatsApp and Telegram available on 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416. That's our number on WhatsApp. Then take a stroll down the social media lanes, Twitter and Facebook, and we are there with the handle at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH. That's where you find us on Facebook and on Twitter. We're talking about the scourge of malaria this morning, and I asked, would you be willing to vaccinate your child against malaria? Not COVID now. A lot of people are very suspicious, and they have theories, so many conspiracy theories about COVID-19. But this is about malaria that a lot of Nigerians deal with every day. In fact, I would go as far as saying 90%, if not 100% of Nigerians at one point in time in their life has dealt with malaria. At one point in time. So now that there's a trial vaccine coming through, WHO has given approval, Ghana has given approval, Nigeria recently through NAFDAC, I said yes, there's going to be monitoring. They're going to let people, they're going to have it, studied, monitored before they make it available, right, to the general public. But I'm asking, if it does get the final approval, right? Would you avail yourself? More important, your children. Let's ignore you. Your children to the vaccine. That's our conversation this morning. First comment here. This is from Ben. Ben says the WHO is not trustworthy anymore. It is a lie for them to say a child dies every minute of the day. Since they came up with the COVID lies, no one trusts them anymore. Ben, fine. So you don't believe. Now, because this is one of the interesting thing about particularly this conversation concerning malaria. Now, Ben, because you have been able to deal with your malaria, maybe you've gotten to the pharmacy or hospital, right? And you got treated. You think malaria doesn't kill. Okay. Now, let me read this for you, right? About 600,000 people die every year. Most of them in Africa, and many of them are young children. 600,000, right? 600,000 is a huge number. But the reason why this is very pertinent for Nigeria is this. Of all the countries in the world with malaria scourge, with the malaria issue, Nigeria has the highest rate of infection of malaria. Nigeria has, at least from the reports I've read, Nigeria has the highest. So it's not far-fetched to deduce, from a purely mathematical standpoint, just off my head or off your head. If they tell you there are 200 people in the world that have red shirts, and of those red shirts, 50 of them are in Africa, and of those 50 in Africa, majority come from Nigeria. So it's, if somebody says, okay, that the highest number of people with red shirts in Africa are Nigerians, it will make sense, right? That's the same thing here. You may not know someone who was passed on from malaria infection, but I do. I had a friend who died because of malaria. And a lot of people, I think a lot of Nigerians are so comfortable with the fact that, we have anti-malaria drugs now. But here is a serious chance to improve the health and well-being of children coming up. You won't take it. All right, that's Ben. Ben says nope, doesn't believe it. Okay. All right, someone says, I will send you something that you not believe, anything called vaccine. But I'm going to ask you, there's a very strong chance that you sending me this message, you were vaccinated. I'm very sure you took the polio. I'm very sure your parents gave you the polio vaccine. Very sure. So why shouldn't children take the vaccine? My name is Jude. Hello, Posaka returns after the break. if and when the vaccine for malaria is available, malaria that a lot of Nigerians are very well accustomed to, would you avail your children to that particular vaccine? Let's have a conversation now, shall we? Well, Angie here is saying, good morning. For those who say they won't want to take the vaccine or give it to their children, I need to ask them, did they not take measles vaccine? Did they not take the vaccine for polio? If they were beneficiaries of such vaccines, why would they prevent their children from getting such medical treatment? We need to be smart about these things. The little things really matter. If we can prevent a disease, why shouldn't you take the vaccine? As for me, I would definitely have my children take the vaccine if and when it becomes available. That's NG. 08179230002, 08179230003. WhatsApp and Telegram available on 08090306416, 08090306416. Now, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theory out there, and I've seen videos, that disprove or disavow the efficacy of, there was a COVID vaccine, but some would say almost any vaccine. Like I said, the population of the world right now is beneficiary to life-changing vaccines. Divine is on the line. Let's get to hear from Divine. Divine is speaking to us from Woji. Hello, Port Harcourt. Good morning to you, Divine.
Good morning, Mr. Jude. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for joining us, please.
Yeah. For the vaccine, malaria vaccine, please, I want to appeal. I hope it is available for adults.
Well, I don't know yet, but I do know the trials. There are trials right now for the vaccines, and obviously children who are most vulnerable are the ones going to be receiving.
Of course, my children will be available because the measles they took for this and that polio. So why are they afraid of taking this one? And we help the children. I'm in support of it. And if it's available for adults, please, you should not get to educate us on it, please, quickly.
All right, Divine, thank you very much. Divine says he's going to be willing to avail his children to that. 19.3, hello, Port Harcourt.
Yeah, Mr. Zion, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Zion. Will you avail your children to the malaria vaccine?
No, sir.
Why, sir?
I will not.
Why, sir?
Because to me, it's not necessary.
Why is it unnecessary?
Other children that want to take it can take it. Because I've already let my children to know that this thing called mosquito has been created to be with us. They are part of us.
Interesting.
We can't do without them, and they can't do without us. So what is the need for we chasing them? The white men came. The same white men who told they found us, they were chased away by mosquito. But we are here. Up to date, we are here. So why should I encourage my children to go be vaccinated against malaria?
Do you know that malaria kills a lot of children in Nigeria?
It is because those parents are dirty.
Is it
they
because
don't take care of the environment?
Really, Zion? Are you saying that parents who are in rural areas who do their best to clean the environment, but they have trees everywhere, and malaria will thrive where mosquitoes will thrive? Are you saying it's because they live in the bush, they live in the village, that's why their children die?
Do they fumigate their compound?
How many of them can afford the chemicals? How many of them can avoid the chemicals in fumigation equipment that you can afford?
What about the mosquito net? What about close your windows and doors earlier on time before the mosquitoes fly in? These are the precaution measures I am taking. If by chance one has the symptom of malaria, of course there are drugs with it. Some even ask for injection, yes. But this particular cliche or title vaccination against mosquito, not my children, not me, because we cannot change who we are. If mosquito is not part of us, we would have been dead by now. Didn't they die when they came? Didn't they run away when they came? Yep. What was their complaint? Mosquito.
But there are still Nigerians who are still dying from malaria to today. Once again, like I said earlier on, it's very possible that some people think, okay, it's fine because they have the money to buy drugs and all of that. But look at the larger picture. And interestingly, the people who I know personally who have died from malaria had the money to treat it. Or Mamegbe. I have a question for us to sink our teeth into. Do you have any qualms whatsoever with vaccines, particularly for malaria? Now, the COVID-19 issue brought a lot of conspiracy theory. There was a lot of distrust amongst government and indeed people all around the world. There are theories about its origin, its propagation, and indeed its duration. Now, whether or not you believe those conspiracy theories is not in question. However, what is in question here is, has there been a very clear and obvious success in the vaccines in managing COVID? And have there been success over the past 5, if not half a century, or let's say even a century when it comes to vaccines? Now, if there have been, the question is right now, as the WHO and indeed the world talks about one of the deadliest killers, malaria, would you avail yourself, particularly your children, to that vaccination? Polio was fought because of the use of vaccines. Meningitis, measles, hepatitis, all fought with the help of vaccines. So I'm asking this morning, if people over the years were able to get these vaccines and live a relatively healthy life. In fact, I'm going to go as far as stating that the population explosion that has been experienced, in Africa, particularly Nigeria, could have a great bearing on the success of malaria treatment and prevention. You've had foundations like the Bill Gates Foundation, for example, backing, sponsoring huge anti-malaria, medication, mosquito nets with the aid of the federal government, with other organizations, and treatment protocols improved over the past 2 or 3 decades. But still, the major problem is that the parasite is still alive. And there are several factors for this. The environment, the rise in temperature. Did you know that back in the late 80s to early 2000s, the lifespan for the mosquito usually will take about a month or two, more like a month, for the eggs to break, and then become a mature mosquito, larva stage, and then they come out. You see them in the water, you see larva, mosquito larva. Did you know that has cut down to just about 2 weeks as of today? And so mosquitoes are breeding at an amazing rate. The temperatures are warmer across the globe. Mosquitoes are increasing. There was the Zika virus about 3 years ago. Remember that affected parts of North and South America? Also spread by mosquitoes. But here we are, seemingly making a headway with malaria. The question is, vaccine or no vaccine?
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
So 08179230002, 08179230003, and WhatsApp and Telegram available on 08090306416, 08090306416. WhatsApp now, the makers of the vaccine are trying to sell their market and make money. Nigeria is a ready market, and so they will bring up fictitious numbers to cause fear that will make people buy from them. Also, there are several stories in the media that the media is not telling about the makers and the effects of vaccines on health. So I don't trust them, and I'm not giving it to my children. Josephine. But once again, Josephine, let me ask, have you taken any vaccines? Have you taken any vaccines? When your child, let's assume you have children, right? I like to believe you have children, all right? Okay, all right, cool. Did you give them the polio vaccine? If you have a lot of confidence in the polio vaccine and in the measles vaccine, what exactly is the hindrance as regarding malaria? Ben is asking, what parameters did they use to assess this report? Is this another big lie that they should leave Nigeria alone? We are fine. Well, Ben, I can understand the skepticism. And, sometimes you have to ask yourself this question, why does Nigeria and indeed most of Africa come under the negative end or scale of many of these researches? But there's one clear fact, that there is very serious health care deficiency in this country. No one can deny that. Not even you, okay? And then if you look at the space, talking about the Nigerian space, and like I made mention, a lot of people are treating malaria. In fact, it's the most treated issue in this part of the world. You have to ask yourself this question. If a lot of people are treating malaria, doesn't it mean that there's a possibility that a lot more people, or there's still a good number of people who could still succumb to the disease? Just think about it. Collins, speaking to us. Oh, dear. Hello, Collins. Collins, good morning. Oh, dear. Drop call scenario. That was Collins from Ordili Road. Now, let's get to Facebook and Twitter. At Nigeria Info PH. At Nigeria Info PH. All right. Kissy Patrick's on, what's this now? Facebook. Says malaria is a common disease, so I don't think vaccination is that important because there are over 100 malaria drugs and injections out there. Precious says, I don't think Nigerian health authority are doing enough for Nigerians. Kissy says, there are lots of malaria medicines, so no need for vaccines. Interesting. Okay, let's move on. Now, this one here says, hi, G, good morning. Historically, vaccines have improved the lots of many a generation in this world. So why are people worried about a malaria vaccine or any other type of vaccine? So long as it's been verified and is shown to be effective, I will make myself available. Let's not kid ourselves. We can't solve all problems by just taking Panadol and water. True. Not all problems. Now, you see, this issue of malaria, now, a lot of people don't quite know that when it gets really serious, it can get into your spinal cord. If it gets into your spinal column, it gets to your brain. That's why you could talk about cerebral malaria. There's a very high chance that the person will pass on. Now, please, I am not an alarmist. That's not my job, right? And this is not necessarily a case to make anybody scared. But it's a very honest question, because when people talk about health, particularly in this country, people make comments like, oh, the government is not doing enough. Like I just read Precious Harris on Facebook. The government is not doing enough, granted. But the little that the government is doing and is planning on doing, are you making yourself available for it? Are you? Are you making yourself available for it? And this issue of vaccines is long running because, like I said, even in the US, there are families who have refused to vaccinate their children for whatever reasons. And sadly, in some cases, it's led to the death of their child. Braid is on the line. All right, let's get to hear from Braid this morning. Braid is speaking to us from Abonima. Braid, good morning. Welcome.
Yes. What I want to say is this. People's fear of vaccine stems from the fact that when COVID-19 was introduced and vaccines were introduced, there was this allegation that some companies producing the vaccines had introduced some ions into the vaccines, which, when you receive the vaccine, will control the individual to conform to whatever they say. So these are the suspicions that have created doubts in people's minds. That people begin to wonder. The earlier vaccines you were talking about polio and so on, were introduced in the days of the colonial masters and so on, and there were no fears about them. But recently, all sorts of evil things are being introduced into systems, which is why people are afraid. Thank you. That's my
okay. All right. Thank you very much, Braid. So that's one of the conspiracy theory, the fear. And so that means, the makers, the government, and indeed the NGOs who have probably and well recognized and investigated these matters should do well to spread and shed more light on this matter. But when you talk about the COVID-19 vaccine and that bit that the marketers or the makers have put ions that can make people be controlled to make them do whatever they want to do, it's a bit far-fetched. It truly is. And the only reason why, those kind of theories, get, that kind of attention is because a lot of people who they also trust make mention and make references to them. The vaccines are there to help. Right. What's up now? 009-030-6416. Okay. Josephine replied my message. Says, yes, Jude, I have children and I gave them the baby vaccines, but I wouldn't have given them if I knew what I know now. Okay, all right. So what exactly do you know now, Josephine? Because like I said, even in the US, this debate about vaccines is still ongoing, because there are certain schools that would tell you, please, we need the medical records of your child. If your child, hasn't done certain things, the child might be required to, take certain vaccines. Now, take, for example, the tetanus shot, right? It's mandatory. Now, imagine a child who refuses, or the parents refuse to have that child receive the tetanus shot. And children, no matter who you are on this planet, you must get injured. You must get injured. There's no doubt, except you live in a bubble. And most children don't live in bubbles. You play on the floor, you scratch your leg, you fall down. There's going to be a scratch, a bruise. Now, what if you now scratch your skin against the surface or against something that's been exposed to, a terrible bacteria or disease? What do you then do? 9.3, good morning. Hello, good morning. Please turn off your radio set. Oh dear. Hello, good morning.
My name is Josephine.
Okay, hi. Yes, good morning, Josephine.
Yes, about the malaria problem, we are talking of environmental hazard. The gutters, stagnant waters. At least let's begin from the roots. That is my suggestion.
Okay. So before you take the vaccine, you want all these other problems to be solved. Oh dear. Okay, but I think I understand what you're saying. I think it's a similar comment to somebody else on Facebook who says we have malaria medicines already, so let's use those ones. Yeah, but yes, the issue of malaria is very much environmental. Drainages not cleaned and all of that. Once all of that is done, okay, it will improve, and I totally believe that it will improve. But the truth is, a lot of individuals who suffer malaria are not in your urban centers. That's the truth. They're not in your urban centers. I think it was that I made mention of, can they use insecticide spray? How many people, let's be honest, how many people in Abonima have sprayed their compound, have called in, a pest controller to use pesticides and all of that to fumigate their houses? How many people have done? Even here in Port Harcourt, let's be honest, how many of you do that regularly in your house? How many of you use not just insecticides? Now, insecticides are even expensive. I hear a can of insecticide these days is about 2,000, 2,500 naira. Some 1,200, 1,300. And then you have the smaller ones, the otapiapias and co. You spray on the ground. Then you have the, what do they call them? The ones that you burn, right? They're like incense. You burn mosquito repellents. Yeah. But how many people can afford those things? University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, a lot of people complain about the number of mosquitoes there. I'm very sure that institution spends a killing fumigating its premises regularly. How many of you fumigate your house as frequently as the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital? How many of you do that? So if you're going to fight the disease, from the environmental factor, what's also wrong in getting prevention from vaccine? Like I said, my job is only to ask the questions. Okay, all right. Ben is also making a comment here. It says, those who did not take the vaccines are healthier, those who did, and those who did not. Many that took it perfect. God, by God's will, they're still very strong. Ben, that's not true. Ben, I had friends, doctors, who contracted COVID. And I know two who died. And right here in this station, what's his name now? Richard Wokocha, yes. He also contracted it. I remember he spoke to us. Said, yes, he did. That people should take it seriously. If he survived it, And I'm very pleased that he did, because I consider him not just a big brother or a father-like figure, but I consider him an inspiration. So he survived it. When it comes to health, right, I agree there are different ways to solving problems. You have native ways, dogoyaro, to help you with malaria. Fine, great. But if there is an option to prevent you from even getting the malaria in the first case, or if you get the malaria, it is not as severe. I think that's one of the problems with COVID. People thought, once you take the injection, you will not get it at all. But the goal of every vaccine is to help in preventing, and more importantly, reduce the effect of that particular ailment if and when you do get it. In the US, people take flu shots every season. Why have they stopped taking flu shots? Why haven't they stopped? They keep taking it. Kind of like the way people take dogoyaro and what's that thing that they mix in the park? Agbo. Aha. Yeah. Why do they keep taking it? It's medicinal. One size, you have to keep taking it. Anyway, this one here says that Jude, we still have a lot of problems with information in this country. A lot of people are not trusting of the system, are not trusting of the government, and so anything that seems to come from government, they would take with that open. So I guess a lot of work needs to be done, by NOA, Orientation Agency, the government. Maybe publications need to be made about this, because ultimately, like I said earlier on, a good number of the children who are victims of malaria are not next to you in the urban center than the rural area. They cannot fear the whole of the forest, fortunately. But anyway, it's good to have felt your pulse this morning on this conversation. We'll park our bus here. Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is Friday, right? Okay. All right. Tomorrow is Friday. All right. I will have a good night with you tomorrow morning. As always, 9 a.m. My name is Jude. Stay well. News comes up next, and then the afternoon crew.
Right back after this.